I know there's a movement out there to discourage people from criticizing game officials since we do have a shortage of them across the country, but man, when they pull something so ridiculous, so absolutely and utterly uncalled for, they need to be called out for their Bravo Sierra. This is like the best term I could think of, keeping it clean on this show. So what am I talking about? Well, I caught this incident earlier this week on John Boy Media, which for those who aren't familiar with it, it's a really entertaining YouTube channel where the guy on it gives his own funny takes on incidents that happen in the sports world. So a few days ago, the Auburn and Kentucky baseball teams are playing each other. And at one point, Auburn was up on the top rail of the dugout, and they're doing this row the boat gesture, just trying to pump up their guys. They weren't mocking the other team. They weren't ripping the umps or anything like that. Just doing a fun little routine to support their teammates at the plate. Well, one of the umpires apparently took great offense at this. So he starts yelling at him, "Knock it off. We're not doing that." And one of the Auburn players, he's like, "What are we doing?" And the ump again is like, "We're not doing that." So what do the Auburn players do? Well, they keep doing the row the boat gesture. So umpire super sensitive Thally tells him to knock it off again. Then dude goes up to his fellow umpires, and apparently, I guess he tells him that he's taken great offense to a bunch of college baseball players doing the row the boat gesture. Oh, heavens to Murgatroyd. Man, so, well, apparently, I guess the other umpires, didn't say to him, "Dude, would you take that 2x4 out of your butt and just call people safe or out at first base, please?" Because the ump, after he talks to his fellow umps, then goes over to the Auburn coach and he whines to him, "Your players are having entirely too much fun, and I don't like it when people have fun. So tell them to stop it, or I'm going to go over this corner and suck my thumb and cry." So what do the Auburn players do after all that? Once again, they get up on the top rail of the dugout and they row the boat again. So this miserable, joyless ump, who probably never experienced any kind of fun since finger painting time back in kindergarten, he ejected two of the Auburn players. Now, you can say, "Well, John, the players were warned to stop their juvenile antics, so they should have listened to the umpire." Well, I contend it never should have gotten to that point. I mean, tell me, what sort of negative impact did the Auburn players have on the game by doing this row the boat stuff? How about zero? Big zero. In fact, maybe not even zero, maybe like -1, I would say. So I seriously doubt that Kentucky was all super duper offended by it. In fact, they probably have their own routines they do to pump up their guys. So unless the Auburn bench was chirping at the Kentucky players or the other umpires, super duper sensitive Thally umpire should have just minded his own darn business and let Auburn have some fun. And I've said this I don't know how many times on this show already. Sports is entertainment. So let the players have fun. Let them do their dugout routines to get their batters and their pitchers amped up. Same with bat flips after home runs, which I saw quite a few times yesterday when I was calling the Embry-Riddle Hope International game. Unfortunately, all but one of those home runs was hit by Hope International. But, the bat flips, they don't bother me. To me, stuff like that adds to the entertainment value of the game. I can hear some people now. Wow. Well, it should just be about the game, John. We don't need all this extracurricular activity. Well, here's what I equate it to. I can go to, I'll say, an Iron Maiden concert, and Bruce Dickinson can come out on stage, just sit in a chair, and sing The Trooper. And yeah, by itself, it would be entertaining because The Trooper is a banger of a song, and Bruce Dickinson is an outstanding, awesome lead singer. But what does Bruce Dickinson do? He doesn't just sing the song, no. He puts on a British red coat, waves around a Union Jack flag, and he runs around the stage while belting out, "You take my life, but I'll take yours too! You fire your musket, but I'll run you through!" And that gets everyone in the audience jacked up and more invested in what's already a wicked awesome song, and it just enhances the entire concert-going experience. Same principle in sports. Auburn doing the row the boat gesture just makes the baseball experience that much more enjoyable. That one umpire, however, well, I don't know why he has such a problem with people enjoying themselves. And the other thing is, looking over this story, this incident, I didn't see anything to suggest there were any issues between Kentucky and Auburn or between Auburn and the umpires leading up to umpire Snowflake kicking out those players just for having some goofy fun. Whoever is in charge of these game officials, I mean, they really need to sit these guys down and tell them, unless it is seriously interfering with the course of the game, let the players have their fun and chill the heck out. We've even seen that here locally. A few months ago, when Prescott football was in the Elite Eight of state at Snowflake, appropriate place for this story to take place, I guess, Josiah Peoples made this great catch early in the first quarter, and then he aimed his hand toward the end zone. Well, one of the refs got his knickers in a twist over that and chucked a flag for unsportsmanlike conduct. Like seriously? Then a few years ago, I was covering a softball game between Yavapai College and Eastern Arizona College, and there was one instance where someone on Yavapai hit a home run, and all the players came out of the dugout and stood along the third base line to congratulate her and plop a cowboy hat on her in celebration. And I kid you not, this umpire ran all the way over from first base, waving his arms like crazy, telling them all to knock it off. I mean, the way he was acting, you'd think there was a wildfire bearing down on Bill Valalay Field, and he was telling them all to get the heck out of Dodge. But I also heard some stuff about this particular umpire, and he was the kind who loves to be the center of attention, and also, I guess, probably had to stick up his rear about players having fun. Again, sports is entertainment. Let players have fun and just concentrate on calling balls and strikes and outs and whatnot. You want a little less pushback and criticism from fans and players and coaches? Well, not being a super duper sensitive anti-fun tool would go a long way toward that. All right, folks, 928-541-1018, 1016 number to call here on the show. Again, 928-541-1016. Coming up to a break here on the Roundup. When we come back, we're actually going to hit the phone line for a couple of minutes and talk to Brad Clifford, head coach at Bradshaw Mountain High School for girls basketball and also former AD at Yavapai College. Then we've got some in-studio guests now that spring break is over. We can actually get athletes in here. So we've got Kira Coleman and James Wood from the Prescott girls and boys tennis teams. They're going to be talking about the great start to their season. All that's coming up on the Roundup right after this. Hey, folks, welcome back here on the Tri-City Sports Roundup. John Rust with you. In the studio with me today, I've got James Wood. I've got Kira Coleman from the Prescott boys and girls tennis teams with us. We're going to be talking to them in a little bit, but we're going to go to the phones right now. You know, we got NCAA tournament action going on with both the men and women, and we actually had some local flavor in the women's tournament as former Yavapai College player Chelsea Dermeyer, well, her High Point team was in the first four of the women's national tournament, and we're going to be talking to her former coach, and that is current Bradshaw Mountain girls basketball coach, former Yavapai AD Brad Clifford. Hey, Brad, good morning. Thanks for joining us.
Good morning, John. Thanks for having me.
And again, you know, it's great. Well, now that we got our new sports station, the team, 1450 AM, we're covering the national tournament. We're going to have both the men's and women's games coming up soon on there. But obviously, I can only imagine the kind of thrill you must have had for one of your former players, Chelsea Dermeyer, now Chelsea Banbury, leading her team to an appearance in the national tournament. Just give us your thoughts on that. I mean, it was 20 years ago you were coaching her, and now here she is. She's a coach of her own team at High Point University.
Well, I think it's just pretty cool. It's pretty cool to watch her career. You know, her and Katie Schrader went on to the Florida Gulf Coast, and they had a great run there. I think they lost in the national championship, if I remember. They both became assistant coaches there. Katie Schrader went on to get, she's now at Walsh. I think at Walsh. She's in Ohio somewhere, coaching her team, and she went to the national tournament last year. Chelsea went last year as a first-year Division I head coach. It's just really thrilling, really, really proud moment, almost a proud daddy type thing. In fact, Chelsea was our point guard, and so she was a coach on the floor anyway, so you could see that coming. So I'm just super thrilled for them and for Chelsea especially, and it's going to be fun to follow her career because I think she's going to be a pretty good coach at the Division I level.
Yeah, and like I said, Katie Schrader, I believe she's at Indiana University, at Purdue University.
Oh, IUPUI. That's right. She was at Walsh, and she went to IUPUI.
Yeah, that one whack university with all the letters in there. But again, I mean, unfortunately her team didn't get to the tournament, but still, pretty good season. It looks like she's on her path to turning that team around as well.
Yeah, and again, just smart players when they were here, and it was easy to coach. It's easy to coach those type of players because they see the game so well and so differently, and so their success at the collegiate level and coaching at the collegiate level doesn't surprise me, but it's just thrilling nonetheless to see the success that they're having.
Yeah, and of course with Katie, I remember I have a lot of fond memories dealing with Katie, and you want to talk about Miss Personality. I mean, between her and Charity Renfro, I mean, I was set with really entertaining interviews from your squads back then.
Well, in that group, they had such a great. I think we had Melissa Sejas at the same time, and it was just a fun group. And between Charity and Katie, they kept practices fun, and I remember one time I was practicing with them, and they kind of beat me up a little bit, and so the next day I came out with pillows all over my body, and I said, all right, let's go again, knowing that they were going to bang me up some more during practice that day. So that was just a fun group, and to see what Charity's now, I think she's in New York City doing some modeling and stuff like that, but just a fun group, and it was a very, very successful group, and an easy group to coach just because of the basketball mentality that they had. And they were smart kids in the classroom as well, so that made it easy as well.
All right, Brad Clifford, head coach, Bradshaw Mountain girls basketball, former athletic director and women's basketball coach at Yavapai College. Want to thank you very much for joining us here on the show, Brad, and just giving your thoughts on two of your former charges having success as NCAA Division I coaches.
I appreciate it, John. Have a great day.
Hey, you too. You too. All right. Now, getting to our guests in the studio today. Again, I've got James Wood. I've got Kira Coleman from the Prescott boys and girls tennis teams with us here. James, Kira, thanks very much for joining us here on the show today.
Yeah. Thank you for having us.
Okay, so James, I'm going to start with you. I mean, you guys have had a pretty busy week here with boys tennis. In fact, 3 matches in 3 straight days you've had. Thankfully, 2 of those 3 matches were at home. But you were able to go 2-1 on the weekend. Just talk about what it's like having a week like that, where 3 matches, 3 days in a row.
I mean, it's a lot. Really, it's going. Like you said, it was really nice having 2 of them being home, but going from Prescott to then ALA Gilbert, which was like a 2.5 hour drive, and then home again, it's just the wear and tear on your body. Like it starts to hurt by the third day. Like that was a lot. Even though my match was easier on that third day than it was on that second day, I could really feel it.
Okay. And Kira, I guess kind of the same with you ladies. I mean, you had 3 matches in 3 days, and one of them down at Horizon High School, I think you said there was, about 95 degrees. And again, when we were up here and kind of getting used to the really cool weather, that had to be kind of a shock to the system to go down there and like, holy crud, it's hot all of a sudden.
Yeah. I mean, me personally, I got lucky with not too difficult of a match. So by the time that I was done, a lot of the girls were still battling in their first set. And so, I mean, a few girls got heat stroke, like, just we all, coach kept saying, drink water. Like, you really need to, this is the first match of the week, we need to start, getting back and just recovering for the next 2 matches. So.
Okay, and then, thankfully for Prescott, you took on Bradshaw Mountain on Thursday, and James, that was a 9-0 sweep there. And for your match, if I can find what you got here, for your match, looked like that went pretty well for you against Bradshaw Mountain. So just tell us, how you kind of had to power through Thursday just to get that win.
So I started off rough that day. I think I went down 1-0 to start the first set, and then I came back and won 6-1, 6-0. And it was just a matter of mind over body, I guess. It was just in my head, I was like, you got to get through this. You got to get through this because he wasn't better than me, obviously. And I don't know. I just played as good as I could, and my doubles match, I had so much fun. The second match of the day, just playing with my doubles partner Carter. We had a great time, and yeah, it was just powering through, drinking water, drinking Gatorade, everything.
Okay. And Kira, I know for Thursday, you actually had a nice little battle there with Maggie Grislack from Bradshaw Mountain. You won that one 6-3, 6-3. So tell us what it was like for you to go in there, third match in as many. Actually, really like almost your 5th or 6th match because you're also playing doubles too. So tell us what that was like, having to kind of gut it out and get the win over Maggie there.
Yeah, it was just honestly really fun. Like, 'cause she's a great player, and she was really nice. It always makes it easier when you're playing someone who's super sweet. And so we just had fun. We, were talking through it and just kept playing, just point after point. So I was definitely like, okay, let me just get all the games so I can finally rest, because we had done doubles first that day, actually. So after that, I was good for the week and, could go home and start resting. So it was really just fun. It was like, honestly nice that it went more games than just 6-0, 6-0 because, we got to keep talking and playing.
Yeah. In fact, I was going to say, I guess that's one of the more unique things about tennis, because unlike other sports where you're really not engaged too much with the other players, except maybe some trash talking on the court or the field that we don't hear, you actually get to associate a lot with your opponent. So, James, tell us what those experiences are like.
It's very interesting sometimes because you're talking to people from all sorts of different places and like grew up all sorts of different ways and everything. And it just like associating with these other schools is a lot of fun a lot of times. And my last 2 matches this week were both against freshmen. And especially the ALA Gilbert North kid, he ended up beating me pretty bad. And like I was just talking to him and I was like, bro, by the time you're a senior, you're going to be insane. And then, yeah, we were just going back and forth. And we just talk like in between exchanges and everything, and a lot of really great people you get to meet doing this.
And Kira, I guess it's the same thing along with Maggie Grislack over at Bradshaw Mountain, who also is on the flag football team out there. I'm sure you've run into your fair share of pretty interesting opponents during your career with Prescott girls tennis.
For sure, it's definitely. It's interesting because every changeover, 2 more games have just happened, right? And so you're competing, and at the same time, you have to go right face to face with them. You both have to drink your water, and you're both recovering from the games you've just battled against each other. And so, at the same time as it's kind of like, wait, maybe this is a little awkward, like I'm beating you or I'm losing to you or we're really going head to head right here. Then you're just engaging in normal conversation about, all different topics, like we always bring up right around this time of the year, we're talking about prom and then, going on to college after. And so it's just interesting to have that break from the competition aspect of it. And it's fun. Although sometimes it is like, for example, when we were down in Phoenix, the first few games we were talking, and then after that every changeover silent because it was so hot. We just needed to catch our breaths and just drink water. And so
Yeah. Again, I think that's understandable. I don't think there's any rudeness there. It's like, I just don't have the energy to talk right now. Let me just get some water in me right now. Oh, man. Well, on the show with us today, folks, I've got Kira Coleman and I've got James Wood. They are from the Prescott girls and boys tennis teams. In fact, they are off to a really, really great start. The boys, they are 6-1 on the season. The girls, they have a 5-2 record. And of course, we'll be keeping track of them like we keep track of all the teams here on KYCA throughout the season. Well, we're going to have more with James and Kira when we come back from our break. But before we go to break, yeah, you know what time it is, folks. It's time to see who shined over the past 7 days as we present the Tri-City Sports Roundup 3 Stars of the Week. Starting with the ladies, our number 3 star is Vanessa Brink of the Embry-Riddle softball team. She was the winning pitcher with 7 strikeouts in the Lady Eagles' 3-1 victory over Nelson University Wednesday. Nelson University, by the way, formerly Sagu American Indian College. The number 2 star is Lily Anderson of the Embry-Riddle softball team. She had a home run and 4 RBIs in the Lady Eagles' 16-2 rout of Nelson University Wednesday. And our number 1 star of the week is Cody Statler of the Bradshaw Mountain softball team. She was the winning pitcher with 13 strikeouts and at the plate had a home run and 7 RBIs in the Lady Bears' 14-1 drubbing of Mojave Monday. Then on Wednesday, Statler was the winning pitcher with 15 strikeouts in Bradshaw's 11-3 triumph over St. Mary's. Now on to the guys. Our number 3 star is Adrian Sandiford of the Prescott baseball team. He had a home run and 6 RBIs in the Badgers' 15-3 stomping of Coconino Thursday. The number 2 star is Blake Moore of the Embry-Riddle baseball team. He drove in 12 runs and had a walk-off single in the series finale in the Eagles' 4-game series with the Masters University last weekend. And our number 1 star of the week is A.J. Diaz of the Yavapai College baseball team. He had a walk-off home run he had walk-off home runs on consecutive days in last Friday's 11-10 win over Arizona Western and last Saturday's 15-14 extra inning triumph over the Matadors. Congratulations to all our 3 stars of the week. Break time here on the Roundup. We'll be back after this. Welcome back to the show. John Rust with you. On the show today, I've got James Wood and Kira Coleman from the Prescott boys and girls tennis teams. And during the break, we're talking about the entertainment value of sports. And I was talking about bat flips, suggested, hey, maybe you guys can do a racket flip. But James, you said that's probably not such a good idea. Not for like possible unsportsmanlike conduct, but for something else, right?
Those rackets can break really easily, and they're very expensive, and also our coach would not be too happy with that. So.
Yeah. So I think the racket flips, let's just not do that. I mean, bats are a lot more sturdy than tennis rackets, so you can get away with a bat flip, not a tennis flip or anything like that. But any kind of things you do, like in celebration if you win, or
I in general, like kind of like I pump my fist, I guess, like in the air or something, or we'll get hyped, especially if it's the last match of the day. We'll have a big group of everybody that's already finished come over and watch, and it's a lot of fun being that last match out there. So yeah, it's really enjoyable, and yeah.
So Kira, what about you? Any kind of little fun gesture or routine that you do when you win, or it's just you win and you go off?
No, honestly, I win and I don't know. I feel like kind of awkward, like expressing it too much because I've just, they've just lost. So I'm just like, maybe a little straight face, like, not trying to draw too much attention.
Yeah. Kind of, maybe it's easier to do that stuff in a team sport like baseball, where in tennis, when it's 1-1 and you're like, I don't want to do that. Really, like maybe show up the other person here. Well, anyway, folks, as always, when we have athletes on the show, we got to find out a little more about their teammates. Let's do a little lightning round thing here. Oh, I didn't brief them on lightning round. This is going to be fun. Kira, I'm starting with you. So who on Prescott girls tennis would you say is the best dressed player?
Oh my gosh. So I actually think I can't choose anyone. All of the girls are so fashionable. We are like this year we bought our own, like we all just decided we wanted like cute warm-ups. And so, but the school doesn't fund the ones we want, so we decided to buy them. So just if that gives you any hint into how, like we want to be dressed up and dressed out and, like look good, play good. And, they're all best dressed. So can't choose anyone.
Wow. So it's like I don't know how many player tie on that one. A bunch player tie, I guess. Okay, so James, for the boys' side, who would you say is probably the funniest guy on the team?
Probably Paxton Brown. He's our number 5 on varsity. I don't know, he cracks me up sometimes. He's hilarious. He can really get me laughing.
And Kira, who on Prescott girls tennis would you say is probably the most serious player?
Like, sorry, can I like serious during a match or just serious all around?
Just serious in general.
I feel like I'm being the worst, show guest ever because I feel like no one's serious, honestly. But maybe. Well, no,
no one's serious.
No one. I think we're all just there having fun, and everyone's just such good friends.
All right. So, James, who on Prescott would you say is probably the most talkative player on the team?
Talkative. Probably I'd say Miguel. He's our number 2. I don't know. He can really get talkative a lot of times, but that's more in competitive like nature, especially playing tennis. He'll especially if you're playing doubles with him, he'll get really like try to get you hyped up, I guess, and he'll talk a lot. And then on the bus he talks a decent amount, and yeah, just in general.
Okay, so Kira, now I don't know if anyone, considering what you said about no one serious on the girls team, I don't know if anyone can fit this bill on the girls team. Who would you say is probably the quietest player on Prescott?
Okay, well, maybe I don't know. Maybe Mandy. But she's not like a quiet person, but she's very like even-keeled and very like, sweet and respectful. So I just think that goes into, not that everyone else isn't, they all are, but that just goes into maybe like she's definitely not on the court like yelling and screaming. So
gotcha. James, who on Prescott can eat the most in one sitting?
Oh, that's got to be Miguel again. He eats a ton. He plays football and he's done wrestling as well, and he just eats an insane amount. Like we'll go to a restaurant after our away matches, and he'll order way more than like half the rest of the team. A lot of our guys are a decent amount smaller, and they don't eat that much, and they're like, what on earth did you order? Because he'll get an insane amount of food.
What did you order? Half the restaurant. Or was it the Ron Swanson line from Parks and Rec? Give me all the bacon and all the eggs. Well, anyway, and obviously tennis is one of those sports, doesn't maybe get the same kind of spotlight that, say, football, baseball, volleyball, basketball does. So, Kira, what was it about tennis that made you get interested into the sport?
Well, my two older siblings played it. I have three, but the other one did soccer, and then my sister and my brother just played tennis in high school back in New York, and I even did a few lessons when I was younger, but I remember that one time I was doing a lesson and the coach hit me in the ball with an eye, or in the
Wow!
hit me in my eye with a ball. And I don't know like how, it must have been really hard, but it gave me a black eye. And after that I was like 4 or 5, but after that I did not come back to it until freshman year when I just decided to join the team.
So it took you almost, about 8-9 years to get over that trauma, huh?
I was traumatized.
And again, a fellow East Coaster here, being from Long Island. So how did your family come from Long Island, New York to here in Prescott?
Well, my parents both just really loved the Southwest. When they were first married, they lived out in El Paso, and they have friends in Arizona, and so they just kind of always planned to come out here, but they felt, New York, I feel like everyone, you can kind of get stuck living there. Everyone lives there forever, and then all their kids live there and grandkids, and so finally my dad just looked for a job out here. He found one, and we made the move.
All right. And James, what about you? What was it that got you interested in tennis?
It was I honestly wanted a sport where I didn't have to run as much. So that's what I decided to do. I didn't want to play baseball, and I didn't want to do track and field, and those were the only other two options for the spring. So I decided to go with tennis, and I haven't regretted it. So
I was going to say it worked out very well for you, and kind of like Kira here, actually like me too. You're also a transplant to Prescott, because your family actually lived in South Dakota and Montana before coming here, right?
Yeah. Yeah, I was born in Rapid City, South Dakota, and lived there for, I think, 7 years about. And then we moved over to Montana and then lived there for around 5. And then we moved out here when I was going into 7th grade, I want to say. And yeah, it's been a great experience in this town. A little bit warmer down here than it is in Montana, but yeah.
Yeah, well, actually, one of the women in my writer's critique group is a Montana native, and she's written about what winters are like in some of her books. So, yeah, I imagine when we get snow here in Prescott, you and your family are like, why is everyone freaking out? This ain't too bad.
Yeah, for the most part, not really my mom. She doesn't really care for snow in general. She lived in Flagstaff when she was a senior in high school, and then for some of college. So she lived in Arizona for a while before. But she still is very nervous in the snow. But my dad does not care.
Yeah, and well, one of the interesting things about being on tennis team, Kira, we were talking about this before the show, is one of the ways that Coach Fetty and Coach Thompson, they figure out what's going to be our starting 6 is they have something called challenge matches. So just explain to us what are challenge matches.
So Sterling initially puts out a lineup. He just thinks, okay, here's the people. I kind of think this is where they're going to be. Then he has the 1 and the 2 play, the 3 and the 4 play, the 5 and the 6. And after that, then you'll play the person. If you won, then you move ahead of them and you guys swap places. If you lost, you move below then. And you just keep playing. This year, we didn't actually have to do too many rounds because just the way the team dynamic was. But in past years, oh my gosh, I mean, it just keeps going. You just play again and again and again, and it keeps moving the lineup, and you kind of don't really know where you are until well into the season. and it really it sets us up for, having the strongest lineup we can have, but also it allows us to get a lot of good matches in before we actually have to play other schools.
Okay. And Kira, I want to get one more question in for you because I know you said you have to leave at about 8:45. But one of the other aspects about tennis, I started off the show talking about officials, umpires being ridiculous and everything. Well, tennis, it's actually one of those sports where you don't actually have referees. You are your own referees. And, sometime, probably most of the time, no problem there. But I'm sure there are other times when there can be a little controversy and a little issues with that, huh?
Mm-hmm. Yeah, sometimes it definitely poses challenges for sure because it's two people and no one else is there to say, oh, I saw this, I can help you guys out. It's literally just your memories. And sometimes we remember things wrong. Every once in a while, you're standing on one side of the court. They're like, what are you doing? Get over there. My serve's going to that side. Mm-hmm. And so this week, actually, I did run into a problem where, not really a problem. We resolved it. But I thought the score was one thing. I thought I had won the first set. She thought we were still in it. Mm-hmm. And I, in all honesty, I believe I'm correct, but just as much as I do, she believes she's correct. And so it's a very difficult thing where it just ended up we're both we don't want to cheat each other out. We're trying to be honest here, but, where can we go if we both believe we're correct? And so I said, we can keep playing that other set. And she's like, no, it's okay. I believe you. So it was resolved and I won the match, but it can be a little choppy there when things like that happen, but in reality it's not too big of an issue, and it's kind of nice to be honest and then at the end of the day know you're playing honest.
Right, gotcha. All right, well, Kira, like I said, I know you have an appointment you got to get to, but still, I want to thank you very much for joining us here on the show today. Best of luck to you. Best of luck to Prescott girls tennis the rest of the way.
Yeah, thank you so much. It was wonderful to be here today.
Okay, so James, it's you and me for the final 4 minutes of this show here. And well, kind of like I said, when it comes to having to be your own referee your own matches, any issues come to mind involving you, and maybe there was a situation where things got maybe a little intense or whatever?
Yeah, not so much this year, but last year I definitely had a couple different times. I remember the flag match last year. I was very confident I had just won. We went to third set tiebreaker in that game, and I was very confident I was up 6-3 at that point in time, and he was arguing that it was 4-5. Mm-hmm. And we had a bit of a controversy. We ended up, my coach, Sterling Fetty, was there actually, and he ended up siding with me because he was watching the match behind us. And so I ended up kind of getting the way I thought it was, which I'm still confident it was. But, yeah, and then I ended up winning that, I think, 10-5 in third set tiebreaker. But, yeah, I've had several issues, not so much this year. It's been a lot more even we've kind of known. I've been a lot better this year about yelling out the score super loud before I serve, so that way we can know for sure what it is.
Okay. And again, of course, the other thing you have to deal with is weather. And I know it's pretty hot down in Phoenix this week. But what's probably maybe one of the worst matches when it comes to weather that you ever had?
Last year in Cactus Shadows, which is in Phoenix, that was our first actual hot match of the season. I think it was 102 in Phoenix. And that was horrible. We ended up losing that match, and it ended up costing us state making it into state last year. And it was really, I think we lost it 4-5, and it was really a factor of just heat that got to us. And that was really disappointing for us.
Yeah. All right. We're coming up toward the end of the show. And, James, I want to thank you very much for being here on Tri-City Sports Roundup this morning, and let everyone know about all the stuff going on with Prescott boys and girls tennis. We had Kira here, of course. Again, congratulations on a great start, and best of luck the rest of the way. And hopefully we'll be talking about both the boys and girls squads making it to state this year. Again, James, thanks for being with us here today.
Yeah, thank you very much for having me.
All right. Well, hey, folks, we've got a whole bunch of stuff stuff coming up here Saturday in the area. First, want to let you know that at 1 p.m. today over at the Ruth Street Theater in Prescott High School's campus, we will have the celebration of life for Cal Cordes. Of course, just legend. That's about the best way I can sum him up. Legend, former coach, former teacher, former PA announcer, a Hall of Famer for Prescott High School. Celebration of Life will be at 1 p.m. today over at the Ruth Street Theater on the campus of Prescott High School. And if you can't make it there, KYCA, we will be live streaming that, so you can check it out on kyca.info. I believe it's also going to be on our Facebook page and our YouTube channel, KYCA Digital. So we've got you covered with that. Also tonight, we have the season opener for the Northern Arizona Wranglers and some local flavor there. Former Bradshaw Mountain football kicker Brandon Fisher is back on the Wranglers. Wranglers will be taking on Fisher's Freight. Sounds more like a trucking company than it does a indoor football team, but they'll be taking on Fisher's Freight at 6:05 p.m. over at the Findlay Toyota Center. Best of luck, Northern Arizona Wranglers, this season. All right, folks, that's going to do it for our show. Thank you very much for joining us. I'll see you again next week.